And hello, and good morning. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles TV, B-O-L-E-S .TV. And we are live here with you every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. I'm wearing my Swing Heavy shirt. This is my sweatshirt, Swing Heavy. It has to do with kettlebells. And we're trying to figure out the color correction on our cameras. Yesterday's shirt was a very bright, deep blue red, and on camera it appears a little washed out and it's more like an orange red. So I'm trying to figure that out. How do I fix that, if it's possible? I don't know if it's possible, and maybe nobody cares about color correction. It is a little esoteric, I suppose. Well, it's clear skies and sunny now on the East Coast. I think we had 12 days of overcast horribleness and fog and rain. I love the fog, though. Not to drive in it, but just to have it enrobe me so no one can see out my window and I can't see in my window and vice versa. So we have several interesting topics to talk about today that will lead us down many pathways. The first of which is our update from the lovely Jana Marie. On her way to work this morning, she walked by the I'm trying to think what this is called. I guess the path pillar installation, where there are about 6 of these giant ugly pillars in the path that they are now decorating with artists' paint and original work in an effort to beautify the space. And more art is better than less art, but I think this has been going on for about 2 years. Not the painting part, but like the prep part. They kind of demolished the pillars and then rebuilt them and maybe reconstituted them in some way so they could take this lovely paint. And does that look like an ant on a leaf? I can't really tell. It's very interesting to look at, though, trying to figure it all out and what makes sense. Now, there's this great big sign also there in the path station with links to an Instagram account. And so I finally smartened up and looked at JC Map. And this is where it led me. Online to this very interesting place. The Jersey City Mural Arts Program. So it's JC Map is Mural Arts Program. They, them, theirs art. And the idea is that you take ugly places, like inside the path station, not that these are ugly places, these are cute kids, and you spiff them up with artwork. So here's a brick wall. It was obviously painted under this program. Here's another one. Featured artist, J.B. Aro Photo, J. Bro Photo. Okay. So it's a nice program to celebrate art and to take great big external places that are very ugly and try to turn them into something beautiful. Now, that is not a painted sky. I believe that is the real sky. The painting is on the right on the building. City Hall. Painting the streets. Celebrating gay pride. And when we click on this link, which I have not done, and you're never supposed to click on a link when you're live, but this takes us to a little place, Linktree. You can apply for a show if you're an artist. It's the website. Our mural map. Now that sounds interesting. What does that mean? Where does that take us? Oh boy. It shows us all the murals in and around Jersey City and where you can go see them. Aqualand. This lovely painting is located at 630 Grand Street in Jersey City. Completed in 2015, so this has been going on for quite a while. Ayak and 581 Monmouth Street in Jersey City. So this is a celebration of public art. Hello, Dora. Good morning to you. Dora should be painting walls, maybe. Why not? Expanding her repertoire. So that's a lot of fun stuff. Art in the big ugly city. And now for something entirely different. Have you heard about this? There is an Indian woman, a deaf woman, who is the world chess champ, women's champ in chess in India. And there's a big furor over her getting what she believes cheated out of her tournament money. Excuse me. 9 o'clock. We know what time that is. Our neighbors are busy hotboxing me. And it's an unfortunate, interesting situation. So it appears that a previous regime of her government promised her a job and money if she, won a certain amount of events. And based on that promise, she went forward and won all of her events. And now she's saying, okay, where's my money and where is my job? And the new government is now saying, what money? What job? We didn't promise you anything. We're the new government. So she's very upset and she's taken to Twitter. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But it's interesting that worldwide, chess is usually sponsored by the state. It's sort of like an ongoing Olympics that happens every day, all year. You play for your country. And in places like Russia, you get apartments and money and prestige, and there are chess schools that you attend. And if you are a prodigy, then they support you, and you represent Russia, and winning chess events is very important to Russia, as is becoming important to China. India is on the way up. The United States has never really valued chess at all as a mainstream event. Hasn't really been sponsored by the government in any way. There's no national pride in having a chess champion or a chess winner. I mean, they're happy to accept it, but as far as being a superstar, it's not happening in America. So the crackling of world chess champion Malika Handa's medal shook not only Punjab, but an entire nation. The new year began on a grim note for Handa after Punjab's sports minister, Pargat Singh, informed her that the state government can't give her a job and cash reward, which was promised by the earlier Amarinder Singh-led government. The state minister said that the government does not have any such policy in deaf sports. Handa made India proud with a gold and 2 silver medals at the World Deaf Chess Championships. Okay. So she has taken to Twitter. This is her Twitter account. Not verified, but it's definitely her, as you're going to see in a moment. She's the World Deaf Chess Champion. first, second, third. Asian champion, first, second, third. 6 medals in world. Asian champ. 7 times national champ, 4 times Olympiad. And this is one of her many videos. And she says she is feeling hurt and she is crying. She met the director of ministry sports in Punjab and said Punjab cannot give a job in cash awards to deaf people. And what is she supposed to do? Because this is what she based her life on. So we'll see what she has to say. Okay, so it appears in that video that she is outside the office of the people who denied her her money because of her deafness. And she's upset about it and she wants action and she needs help. Now, I asked Jana Marie to view these videos before she left for the day, and I just had some specific questions about this that I don't know that I would share with you today. I asked her, is she signing any form of American Sign Language? And Jana said, no, it's very clearly Indian Sign Language. And I said, do we have any idea if she's speaking English or is she speaking her native tongue in India, voicing? Because as you can see on Twitter, she's writing in English. And Jana said, I don't believe it's English. And I said, I don't believe it's English either. But it doesn't sound like, to me, to my American ear, that she is forming words. It sounds more kind of like tonal emphasis. And Jana said, sometimes when deaf people are very upset like this, sometimes they sign very quickly, and she is signing very fast. And sometimes they don't pronounce perfect English or foreign language words because they're trying to get their point across. So they move more to an instinctual tone, and they don't worry so much about pronunciation. So here's another video. And she doesn't sign very much in this one either. But you can at least see that she's trying to make her case. This is proof that President Sports Minister saying, I will do special case for you and job and cast for you, Malika. So I guess this is her proof that she responds to it. And she's asking about her money, and it appears she's not getting the answer she wants. So here is her further evidence that she is promised money and a job. And you can see at the bottom, it's addressed to her, Malika, on deaf and dumb chess player. Now, in America, we don't use deaf and dumb anymore. We don't ever use the word dumb now because it is a negative connotation. It's inappropriate. It's diminishing. And it's not true. And dumb, in that case, means speech, does not speak. Doesn't have anything to do with intellectualism. So the preferred phrase, at least in America, is deaf and does not speak. However, you've seen her speaking quite well. And this is another one where she posted, this one's hard to see. She's rattling her gold medals, which is a very interesting tactic because it's very loud and it hurts your ears. And as a deaf person, she doesn't care about that. But she's trying to make her point to the rest of us. Wake up and listen to me what I'm saying. So this is that video, but we can see her a little bit clearer. So we'll play this one. You can hear the rattling of her medals as she's very upset. And she's still trying to get her money. And they're saying, we're not paying you because you're deaf. Now, this is why it's important from government to government, and what we try to do in America, under a democracy, is we try to be consistent. That if one administration promised you something, made a deal with you, then the next administration will honor that deal. At least that's the idea of it, in America anyway. Oh, here's the rattling of the multiple medals that she won as proof that she should get paid. So they're saying no medals, the medal. Yeah, so obviously when she's doing this, she's talking about her medals. And this, I asked Jan about that, where she's doing that with her hair. Janet didn't know what it was. I don't know what it is, but I wonder if it has something to do with the person, if she's like, if that's a sign name for the person who promised her money for her medals. And here's one more, and this is very interesting because it says it's closed caption, which I'm turning it off because it's not closed captioning anything because she's not pronouncing English. So I'll play this one for you too, just as kind of a final look at what's going on. Yeah, and here's kind of this kind of summarizes what's going on. 7-time national deaf chess champ, no job by the Punjab government. So she won all this. She's sad. 2 months has gone by. No one will pay me my money. Why? Why? Because I'm deaf. And so far, she's not really getting any help from anybody. There's, I guess, one chess person in India who has said that he's going to take up a collection for her on GoFundMe. And maybe that will satisfy her a little bit that she gets some of her money. But what she's upset about is the promise that her government made. You go compete for us, you win for us, you make us proud as a nation. And India is very proud of their chess champions. Deaf, hearing, whatever, they celebrate them. It's important to their culture. And she wants the government to keep their promise. That's what's important to her. I don't get the feeling the money is that important. Maybe the job is. And you feel for her. And I asked Jan, I said, look, I know in your job, as you help disabled people find jobs, that you have a lot of Indian deaf people in your area. And how do you communicate with them? Do they use that form of sign language? And she said, no, they wouldn't use that here because that's their home sign language. They use gestures here if they don't know English, or if they don't know ASL, they would do the best they could. But she said the family of that deaf chess champion in India probably does have a way to communicate with her because through home signs or gestures, or maybe people in her family know sign. But you feel for her trying to get attention and help online, and so far the Indian government is saying, too bad. It's very sad. And speaking of hearing loss, everything kind of fits together some days. Some days nothing makes sense, and some days the whole thing comes together. This is very interesting to me. from a technical point of view, South Korea has developed an artificial cochlear implant called Sullivan. Now, just that phrase, now this is coming from a foreign PR place, that phrase, artificial cochlear implant, is very interesting. What is the difference between an artificial cochlear implant and an authentic cochlear implant? I don't think they meant artificial cochlear implant, but maybe they did. I don't know. Now, I am not a big supporter of CI. Other people are. As we've discussed on this stream before, my point of view is that deafness is not something that needs to be fixed medically. Deaf people are born into a culture with their own language and values, and when you have a medical intervention to make a deaf child hearing, it doesn't turn out very well for the child when the child becomes an adult. Now, if the person wants to decide to have a CI, cochlear implant, as an adult, that's their choice. Okay, go do it. But the doctors now, younger and younger and younger, want to implant as soon as possible because they claim they need to get caught up on language. So, based on the vision of connecting the human nerves and the world, TODOC has been providing solutions to curing various neuropathic disorders and conditions. Now, again, here we go. Curing. Deafness is something that is in need of curing. It's not a cultural totem. It has to be cured like a ham. Not that kind of curing. Based on high-density electrode technology, they developed Sullivan, the world's first 32-channel artificial cochlear implant system that delivers more frequency band sound information than ever. Existing artificial cochlear implants support only 22 channels. I'm assuming those are audio channels, so high frequency, low frequency. The more channels you have, the wider range of hearing you would allegedly have. TODOC's artificial cochlear implant is characterized by increased usability, by supporting user-customed neuromodulation and audio streaming services through an easy-to-wear external ear wearable vagus nerve regulator. Now that is a mouthful. The product will be displayed at the Consumer Electronics Show held in Las Vegas on January 5, after being selected in the top 10 Korean products of CES 2022. Okay, so that's sort of interesting news. And before we take our little break, here's just another interesting news item that pops in your ear and your eye. If you have friends, if you're wondering what does it mean to lose your hearing, here are the first symptoms and telltale signs that maybe you have a problem. Maybe one day you would want a cochlear implant. And for hearing people, cochlear implants can be very, very helpful. Muffling of speech and other sounds. Difficulty understanding words, especially against background noise or in a crowd. Trouble hearing consonants. Frequently asking others to speak more slowly, clearly, and loudly. Needing to turn up the volume on the television or radio. Withdrawal from conversations, avoidance of some social settings. Now, it's interesting that Apple, if you have an Apple iPhone and the ear pods, you can test your hearing on your iPhone. You can go into a research test and it will test your hearing. And it's very challenging. And the hard thing, I was part of it for a while, but it really demands no background noise. Well, where do we live? You've heard this live stream. We have dogs barking, we have people banging, we have the elevator over here, the fan going, the sirens outside. This is not a quiet place. So late at night, I would go into the bathroom and close the door, put in my earpods, say, okay, start the test, and it would listen. The iPod nearby, they would listen. Okay, is it quiet enough? Yes? No? Well, that situation was quiet enough for them to test my hearing. And they would play very strange sentences, like Lisa has a brown lizard. Jojo ate a purple apple. Dean went for a walk off a bridge. So something that you wouldn't really be able to fake unless you were hearing it. And then you repeat the phrase back, and they don't tell you if you got it right or not. They just store the information as part of their research. And then they play in one ear, they play in the other ear, with background noise. People eating at a diner. Jojo has a gray lizard. And then sometimes with cars going by, and it makes it a little softer in this ear. And sometimes it's just a regular test where they play tones and you raise your hand, or you click the button right, left, when you hear the sound. And you really can't fake it out because they know when they're playing the sound, and they know if you're just hitting the button to hit the button or if you're hitting the button because you're actually hearing the sound. Same as the eye doctor exam where you go there and you do the flashing lights thing. You have to use the clicker. I'm terrible at that game, and it is a game, because I can never click right because of my floaters. I see things differently. And my doctor doesn't care. She makes me do it anyway. And one interesting thing is, if you are having trouble hearing people, and people, male and female, have trouble hearing young voices because they're high-pitched, and generally speaking, women's voices because they're a little bit higher pitched. And people who are losing their hearing or having trouble hear make the mistake of telling that person or child, speak louder. So they speak louder, but at the same pitch. So it doesn't help. What you need to say if you are having trouble hearing someone speak to you is speak lower. Lower your pitch. Instead of saying, "Hi Dave, how are you up here?" Ask them to lower the pitch of their voice. Not lower their voice to that whispering, "Hey Dave," but lower the tone of your voice. "Hi Dave, how are you?" And even if they're doing it like that, silly, "Hi Dave, how are you?" It works. And let them feel silly. Just say, "Please play along with me," and just lower the tone of your voice. Don't be louder. Don't whisper. Lower the tone of your voice and say your sentence again. And if you're working with a nice person, they'll do that for you. If it's just a person on the street, they're just going to yell at you. So these symptoms of hearing loss occur as hairs or nerve cells in the cochlea, which send sound signals to the brain, become either damaged or missing, meaning electrical signs are not transmitted as efficiently, leading to hearing loss. The National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders explains that other conditions, such as having high blood pressure, I do have ringing in my ears. Tinnitus, which I thought was from being in radio too long. But now it could be your blood pressure medication. There's a couple of blood pressure medications that give you tinnitus. And once you have it, that's it. You can't go back. Having high blood pressure or diabetes can also contribute to hearing loss, as well as taking some medications. Hearing aids will not make hearing perfect, but they will make sounds louder and clearer, which in turn reduces the impact that hearing loss has on an individual's life. It's fascinating stuff. And now, my dear friend, it's that time of day. Blood pressure break. Back in a moment. back from break. Hello, I'm David Boles. Welcome to Boles.tv, where we are discussing the human condition. Today, I realize specifically we're really talking about money and support and payments and managing money. All that's to come. A lot of interesting topics to cover today. If you have any questions, say something in chat. You can email me, david@boles.tv. Saturdays and Sundays at 11, Jana Marie is here, talking about disability and American Sign Language. And if you have a question for her, pop her an email, jana@boles.tv. So we like to share things that we discover. And there was some news that may be interesting to you. That's a big change in Social Security. And we're going to talk a little bit about Social Security now, and then we're going to talk more about Social Security a little bit later. ABLE accounts are for people who have disabilities, because it's expensive to be disabled in America. You have to pay for doctors, you have to pay for techniques, you have to pay for technology, you have to pay for assistive devices. ABLE accounts, which were created under a 2014 law, allow individuals with disabilities to save up to $100,000 without risking eligibility for Social Security and other government benefits. Now, why is that important? Well, we talked about that yesterday. Medicaid can be retained no matter how much money is in the accounts. Because if you are disabled and you are on Social Security disability, and they pay you a certain amount of money, let's say $2,000 a month, once you get qualified for disability payments, you can't just keep that money and hold on to it. Your need is evaluated on an ongoing basis. And if you're spending $500 on food and you're spending $1,000 on rent, and then you have $500 left over every month and you're just saving that away, well, once it gets to a certain point, and for each person it can be different, that's why you have to ask the Social Security Benefits Office what your limits are, then they start saying, hey, wait a minute, we see your deposit account has a lot of money in it, you're not spending all the money, so we're going to reevaluate and we're going to knock you down to $1,500 a month. And that surprises people because people want to try to save some of that money. And when they try to save it and then it's taken away from them, then they're really stuck. Because once it's taken away, it's really hard to get it back. So spend every penny you're given by the government, or else. So interest earned on funds in ABLE accounts is tax-free, and money saved can be used to pay for qualified disability expenses, including education, healthcare, transportation, and housing. Annual deposits in ABLE accounts are generally limited to the value of the IRS's gift tax exclusion, now $16,000. It used to be a year ago $15,000. So this is the news that they're sharing, is it's now up to $16,000. However, people with disabilities who are employed, and there are a lot of people who have disabilities and who get a little bit of help from the government, but it's not enough, so they have a little part-time job because they want to feel important and feel a part of society and feel active. And that is also another big part of the job that Jana Marie does every single day. However, people with disabilities who are employed can also save some of their earnings in the accounts above and beyond the gift tax amount of $16,000. For those in the continental U.S., that means up to an additional $12,880 this year, according to the ABLE National Resource Center. Alaska residents could save an extra $16,000 in compensation, and that figure is $14,000 in Hawaii. So it looks like it's 16,000 base, and then you can put 12,000 or 16,000 on top of that. So that's a good thing, that you can have a little bit of a war chest to protect your future health moving forward. And glasses are expensive. They could be $1,000 a pair, depending on your special needs. Hearing aids are incredibly expensive. You can very easily spend $5,000 for one hearing aid, for one ear. And if you have a severe loss, you're going to have hearing aids in both ears. So you're not just paying $5,000, you're paying $10,000 for hearing aids. And even if you have a nice employer-sponsored health insurance program, they don't cover that whole cost. They cover maybe $2,500 of it. The rest of it's out of pocket. It's just terrible. And I know in this Build Back Better bonanza that Biden's trying to get pushed through, he wants to lower the price of insulin to $25 a month, where the average is $300 a month. Fabulous. He wants to add eye care and dental and better hearing improvement, hearing aids to that plan, which is great. Who doesn't want that? Well, 2 senators don't want it. And having just a little bit more fun, I received this yesterday in the mail. The Centers for Disease Control is now out there banging the door on the flu season. And if you want to be a part of it, like we are here in our live stream, you can download some of these resources that are just there waiting for you to take. You can put this on your Instagram. These are official things from the CDC. You can share them on your live stream. Mask up, lather up, sleeve up, fight the flu. These are for flu vaccines, by the way. This is not coronavirus. So I wonder if this is different for people who are against the vaccine, but they are pro-flu vaccines. Probably not. But I love the PR. And you can get these in all different sizes, big sizes, small sizes. You can print them out. You can put them on your billboards. These are for companies. These are for people. These are for kids. Get yourself and your family vaccinated for the flu. A yearly flu vaccine is the first and most important step in protecting against flu viruses. Hallelujah! I'm all with that. And we are fully flu vaccinated as well. When we got our booster shot, we also got our flu vaccine same day. One vaccine in each arm. And we did that so we could do A/B testing. Well, my flu arm hurts more than my COVID arm. And that was very true for me. These are print-ready materials. So if you want to make a little poster, you can download this about the flu vaccine. Here's another one with old people dancing because they got the flu vaccine together. This is all from the CDC. If you're pregnant, a woman of color, she wants a flu vaccine to protect her baby. And these are all poster-sized. I protect my family from the flu. Are they talking about the flu or are they talking about coronavirus? Is there a difference? Many people would say there's not a difference. It's exactly the same idea. Fight the flu. Get vaccinated. Stop the spread. Antivirals. Now we know it's the flu. We don't have antivirals yet, really, for COVID-19, but we know they're coming. It's all going to be good. So that's delightful. And we have one more little thing here to share. The state of the internet in 2021. Now what's happening? They say it's getting faster. I don't know if people believe that or not. It can be very expensive. There are people online saying that if you have Comcast internet, if you get their triple play, which includes internet, home phone, and who wants a home phone anymore? Only old people like us. And TV, you get it for like $300. But if you just want internet only, without the phone and without the TV, because you're just going to cut the cable cord and stream all of your entertainment, That's like $225. And people are saying, well, how is that possible? All I want is internet for $50, up and down, that's it. And places like Comcast say, well, sure, you can have just internet only, but it's not going to be that price. That's the bundled price with the triple play. If you just want the internet only, well, that's $225. But if I spend another $75, I get a phone and I get 150 channels. Yeah, you do. You want that one? I love business. I said through a grin. States with the fastest and slowest internet speeds. Rhode Island has the fastest internet speeds. Ranked first, or fastest average speed, 129 down. Montana, slowest. Ranked last, average speed of 54.4. Better than the year before where they were only going 30. Alaska improved, slowest state in 2020, average speed 20. Now it's up to 61.5. Now here in the US on the East Coast, you can get a gig down, which is almost 10 times faster than those speeds you're hearing about here. Average speeds of internet, 2020 versus 2021. Average was 42, almost double to 99, which I think is terrible. How can we be in America to have this slow internet speeds? Dora's saying yes. Dora, what are you saying yes to? The difference between the slowest and the fastest. They still make you pay no matter what. Yeah. It's terrible. That's why people say that we should have a national backbone, and we sort of do, a national internet, and cut out Fios, Comcast, Xfinity, and just have access to the internet be provided by the United States government for free, including Wi-Fi, to every person in America. Because it's infrastructure, and it's a right to have access to freedom. And Dora says, I wanted to cut the cord, but then gave up. Oh boy. I know that feeling. I agree. Who needs a phone today? Nobody wants a phone. A phone. Unless you have like a fax machine, which we do. And that's what we use it for. But kids today don't know what a fax machine is. I love a fax machine. But they want you in those bundles. And if you know that, and you negotiate with them, even if your contract is up, you can get an okay deal. But they still make you take stuff you don't want, because that's their business model. They don't want to be an internet provider. They want to be a services provider. They want to be the pipe into the entertainment. And now, really, if you want to cut your cable and do it all yourself, you're going to pay $10 for ESPN, you're going to pay $10 for Hulu, you're going to pay $10 for Disney, you're going to pay $10 for Paramount Plus, and all your savings are gone. It's almost swinging back the other way, where it's more advantageous, it's cheaper to go with a cable company and have everything, every channel bundled for you in one specific convenient place, instead of having to download apps, stream, find places to go where you have to pay as you go for each individual service. So we need a national infrastructure for internet, and we won't have it because there are forces in America who do not want people connected and who don't want them on the internet learning things that they don't want them to know about from foreign lands. And I'm sure they would say, well, you're getting Uncle Sam's giving you your internet, so you don't need to know what's going on in Iran or Russia or China, so like them, we're just going to limit your access. That's what they'll do. Internet on the go-go, 65% work remotely from home. 3 and 4, internet is important while traveling. And it's expensive. You fly, that's what, $10 for a few hours on an airplane? It's ridiculous. Most popular places to connect your Wi-Fi. 60% a cafe or a restaurant. Now, unless you have a VPN, I would never connect to a public Wi-Fi anywhere because there are bad actors on there, pretending to be what they are not. And how do you know? You don't know. Outdoor Wi-Fi spots, 15%. We have free Wi-Fi in this building where we live, but it's only on one floor. And it's okay, but I don't think it's secure unless you have a VPN, a virtual private network that encrypts all of your information so no bad actors can read what's going on your computer and the internet. It's a nice little barrier. But a lot of places like banks and online service places and streaming services don't want you using a VPN because they want to know exactly who you are and where you are, and they want to pin an IP address to you. They want to know who you are and where you're coming from. And that is a little bit of a problem because a lot of people they want their anonymity on the internet. They want to be safe. They don't want people to know where they're coming from. Well, it's not really possible anymore. How many public Americans use public Wi-Fi spots? 85% use public Wi-Fi spots. 41% say they use them regularly. And I bet you $100 that they're not using a VPN. They're just trusting the network, which is very dangerous and not very smart. How many Americans use their smartphone as a hotspot? I do that when our internet goes down. It's not terrible. Almost 60% of respondents say they've used their smartphone as a hotspot during the pandemic. 31% say they haven't needed to, and 8.76% say they did not know they could use their smartphone as a hotspot, which is true. It's slightly complicated. It's easier, I think, on an Apple machine, on a Mac machine, because it will automatically, if you have an iPhone, sense your iPhone and say, you lost your connection to the internet. Do you want to use your iPhone as a hotspot? And people don't even know what a hotspot is. A hotspot is basically a modem, a router. And it isn't terrible. The speeds are pretty good. Oh my gosh, here comes Dora with a story. Dora has a story. I'm paying through the nose. But if I use my computer in my screen house, I lose internet and can't connect to work. I'm right outside the threshold of my house. Isn't that ridiculous? That's what I used, and my 10-year-old niece showed me how. Fabulous. That's technology. It's not for old people. It never was. Oh, thanks for the follow. Hotspot. Hotspots are really wonderful. And they're very powerful, and they're faster than you think they would be. I don't know if we could stream on a hotspot. And we have iPads, and we have iPhones. And our iPhones are much, much newer than our iPads. However, for hotspot streaming, you cannot beat an iPad. For some reason, they are very, very robust and very fast. So if I have an option of streaming in an emergency situation from my main computer to the internet using my phone or my iPad, I always pick the iPad. And the iPad downloads updates faster, and it's old. Imagine what the new iPads could do. Oh boy. Overall ratings, people, don't feel great about their internet speed. I agree. I think there's a lot to be desired. They promise you a gig down, but that's perfect conditions, they'll say, and you have to be tethered via an Ethernet cable to your modem, to your computer, in order for it to be justified as a gig down and not even a gig up on Comcast. And if you're on Wi-Fi, they say maybe 700 down, but really in everyday reality, if you're using a modem as a bridge and a router, it's 300 down, which is better than 100 down, but not as good as a gig down. But a gig down is all just ridiculous. And the installers will tell you that if you're honest with them. They'll say, look, it's PR, it's advertising. You're not going to get a gig down. Fiber versus cable versus DSL. Overall rating for fiber is pretty good. I agree. DSL's terrible. Cable, okay. Fiber internet is in demand, of course. You'd be willing to pay more for faster, better internet. And that's one advantage of living in a newer building, is it's wired with new stuff. We lived in an old building with DSL, and then we had some cable, and it was okay. And then you move to a new building that's brand new with fresh wires and pristine connections to the internet that's all fiber optic. Much better, much more reliable, never really ever goes out. Unless it's something outside the building. Why do people want fiber internet? Because it's like the best internet ever. Which is true. Google Fiber, everybody loves Google Fiber. It's just not available anywhere. I think Kansas City is its main place. Max advertised speed, 2 gigs. Wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty good. Verizon, oh, they don't say a gig down anymore. They say 940 down. They're okay. The building in its communal areas has Verizon. Metronet, don't know about them. A gig down. Xfinity, 2 gigs down. Well, that's business plan. You can't get that in your home. And that's why they're in 4th place. I don't believe anyone gets 2 gigs down. Cox, 940 down. What will the internet look like in 2022? Who knows? We're not even there yet. And the main thing when you're trying to get on the internet is just not the internet speed, but it's also your computer speed. Makes a big difference. And now a brief blood pressure break. Back in a moment. We are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. BOLES.TV. And we're so glad you're with us today. We are here every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Weekends with Jana Marie, 11 a.m. Talking about disability and deafness. So here's a link to the CDC page, CDC flu shots. I want to share with you and put it in chat so we have an official record of where that is if you want to go investigate it. And just to be fair, here is the link to the high-speed internet. The high-speed internet article, boom, also in chat. It's preserved. You can go take a look at that if you're interested. And now we're moving into a very fascinating topic that is possibly a little difficult to understand. For me, not for you, probably. But the whole idea of what it means is truly fascinating if you're interested in speech and understanding and linguistics. And that is this. There is a new study that tracks how doctors and patients interact with each other using speech, keywords, and communication barriers, if there are any. And if you've ever gone to some doctors, you know they're hard to understand. They either don't look at you, they talk fast, they talk in lingo jingo, you have to have them explain it to you, they don't want to explain it to you because they can only spend 7 minutes with you because they have to see the next client. So this new study tackles these intriguing questions about communication between doctors and patients and formally tested the hypothesis that there is an association between both patient and clinical linguistic tones and the patient's perception of the provider's, the doctor's, empathy. Giving background on the study, one of the doctors said this: "We have a set of transcripts from 3 prior studies that we are using to address a new hypothesis. We have also made increasing use of natural language processing tools. The transcripts offered a great opportunity to look at tones, tone of voice, word count, how much someone says to someone, and other aspects of clinician and patient language to see if it was associated with patient mental health. An association would open the possibility of using computer analysis of patient and clinician language to identify mental health opportunities." Now that's very interesting. Does that mean that they would be processing this in real time? As we're chatting, doctor, patient, and the computer is seeing if I'm mentally ill or not? And what they mean by that is if the patient is depressed or critical, and some of these doctors are great talkers, but they don't listen very well. The authors wrote, "Trained and attentive musculoskeletal specialists can use aspects of patient communication to distinguish between symptoms that correspond well with observed pathophysiology as taught in the traditional biomedical paradigm, and disproportionate or incongruent symptoms that suggest mental and social health opportunities. They're increasingly recognized in comprehensive biosocial approaches." So what that means is, are these patients really complaining about something that is really hurting them inside, or are they trying to say something else about their environment as they try to seek medical help? But they're seeking medical help from the wrong sort of doctor. The team examined video and audio recordings of 109 adult patients who sought out musculoskeletal specialty care between September 2019 and January 2020. The study includes secondary data from studies where permission from new and returning patients was obtained to record the visit. The patients completed a series of questionnaires afterwards. After dividing the transcripts into clinician and patient dialogues, the researchers used linguistic inquiry and word count to analyze the text and detect the relative strength of various emotional tones, cognitive processes, and core drives and needs. The percentage of words in each of the dictionary categories is calculated and compared with the total number of words in the text. For example, if we counted 15 words using a linguistic inquiry and word count identifier program in the category of family, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece, in a text with 100 words in total, the relative strength of the category would be 15%. For patient dialogue, we were interested in the following linguistic inquiry and word count domains: the number of words, questions, and adjectives, as well as the relative scores indicating the prevalence of words representing the following categories: positive emotion, negative emotion, anxiety, sadness, anger, social, and family. So that's all from the patient side. Are they mentioning other people in their lives outside of what's ailing them? Because your niece and your nephew have nothing to do with your bad back, physiologically. And that's what they're trying to separate here. For the clinician dialogue, we were interested in the number of words spoken and score indicating the prevalence of words representing the following tone categories: analytical, clout, authentic, positive emotion, negative emotion, social, family, insight, causation, tentativeness, and risk. Patient words and tones were not associated with mental health. If anything, speaking less to their provider was a sign of symptoms of depression. What this means is that clinicians and computers cannot rely on patient language to discern mental health opportunities. Over the years, I've heard surgeons say with confidence that a given patient they are caring for had no mental health opportunities. Based on this study, I would say that in many cases, those surgeons were being overconfident in their assertions. We all need to be attuned for mental health opportunities because the data are clear and consistent. Mental and social health opportunities are common in musculoskeletal specialty care. And here's a link to the study. Patient linguistics. Fascinating read. Now, here's my secondary take on this article, talking about language and communication. Many years ago, Jan and I had this idea based on our SOSASL.com website. Which is a communications portal for first responders, emergency responders, so they can communicate with the deaf or people who communicate visually and maybe don't know spoken English or written English. And we wanted to expand that and take that into the medical field, into the doctor's office, with either a card that people could point to and use. So one of our potential publishers loved our idea, and they wanted to field test it. So they field tested this idea with one doctor somewhere in California. And this doctor was very, very insulted by the idea of this cue card and said, "Well, I don't have any problems communicating with my deaf and disabled patients. They understand everything I say, and I understand everything they say. This is unnecessary. We would never purchase this." And that killed the whole idea. The publisher said, "Oh, this won't work." I said, "That's one dumb doctor. This is for firehouses. This is for clinics. This is for police departments. It's a little $10 thing. Send out. Publish it." Oh, no, the doctor didn't like it. Now, Jan and I know from personal experience that that doctor is lying to himself and to us and to the publisher and to his patients. I guarantee 100% his patients do not understand everything that he says. Because just by his attitude, you can tell he does not speak slowly, he is not inclusive, he would never stop to write down a sentence to communicate with a deaf person who doesn't understand. He just pretends they understand. And he pretends that they understand him. And that is the whole business and purpose of that card that we were trying to get published and sold. Which goes right to the linguistics between patient tones, mental health care, and perceived clinician empathy. No clinician empathy in the guise of that doctor. And doctors tend to, generally speaking, be egomaniacal dolts. They're very technical. They don't have a lot of empathy. They're never wrong. And you don't know anything. Now, younger doctors, in my experience, tend to be better trained with new technology, and they are slightly more empathetic. Older doctors, in my experience, generally speaking, are more dismissive. I've been around for 50 years. I know things the young kids don't know. All of my deaf and disabled people understand me perfectly. There's no problem here. Go look somewhere else. It's infuriating because it's an absolute purposeful lie. Now we're switching gears, and I can show you part of this, and I'll put the link. Do you know who this is? I'll scroll down. I can't show you this whole article because it's very long and very well written, but we can talk about parts of it. This is Keisha Lance Bottoms. She's a superstar. Absolute 100% superstar in politics. Mayor of Atlanta. And she quit on us. And that sounds very harsh. But she decided she didn't want to be mayor anymore. And she was a big leader in the pandemic. I wanted her to run for president. I'll show you the podcast I did about her and the guy from Pennsylvania. And I always wondered what happened to her. Why did she give up? I thought she would have been a better choice for a vice president than Kamala Harris because Keisha is likable. She's super smart. She's friendly. She's empathetic. She connects to you. I understand her. And she seems to care about us. And here's a little bit from the article that it was more of her just being fed up with it all. And this is the part that really hit home with me because I, in many ways, feel the same way. So how can I be disappointed in her unless I'm disappointed in myself? She admits being mayor was never a great fit for her personality. An introvert masking as an extrovert is how she describes herself. Someone who would much rather be somewhere reading a book than sitting at a party. Well, there you go. We're the same person. The gulf between her temperament and the demands of a job that is usually held by people she calls social sponges only got wider in the past year. Since the riots in 2020, Atlanta voters have become transfixed by crime. Murders were up 50%, part of a national trend. And so she said, I don't want this anymore. And she's very smart, has a very famous father. Went to law school. She said, I don't need this. I've been mayor enough. So who can blame her? But it's a wonderfully written article and very, very long and very in-depth, and they had a lot of access to her. So if you know her and you love her and you respect her, as I do, that article will tell you a lot. And this, if you're interested, if you go to humanmeme.com, this is the podcast that I did about the future of the Democrat Party and why Keisha should be part of it. This is before she dropped out. The Great White Bridge as through line, and the Great White Bridge is Joe Biden. And I'm going to play you the first part of this because I do a Seamus Haney take. And you can't get enough Seamus Haney in your life. And then we'll stop this. Welcome. This is David Boles, Human Meme. Today's topic, the Great White Bridge as through line. People so deep into their own self-pity buoys them up. People so staunch and true they're fixated, shining with self-regard like polished stones. And their whole life spent admiring themselves for their own long-suffering, licking their wounds and flashing them around like decorations. I hate it. I always hated it. And I am part of it myself. Seamus Haney, The Cure at Troy. And if you haven't read The Cure at Troy, I completely urge you to read that play. It's just fantastic on every level. It will blow your mind and make you very, very, very happy. And now we're going to get into something really important and slightly confusing. Social Security. You may think, oh no, why? Oh, wait. And you're going to find out. But first, a small blood pressure break. Back in a moment. back from break. Hello, I'm David Boles. So nice to be with you today, as we are with you every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Plus Jan on the weekends at 11 a.m. So we've been talking a lot about money and planning and strategy and knowing. And there's one thing that most people don't have any idea about, and that is Social Security. They know they need it. They know they want it. They believe it's a savings plan. Democrats love it and Republicans hate it. And the Wall Street Journal had a wonderful article that they have now made public, so anybody can go read this article for free, because it's been so popular and so important, and I will give you the link to that article momentarily. But we're going to take a look at some of the highlights of this article. It's very long and very detailed, but we'll go over the highlights just so you can see what it's about and see if any of this applies to you. If you're getting ready for retirement, it's directly applicable. And that means if you're 25 years old or if you're 50 years old, you always got to be pointing ahead. Now, some of us with Mozart syndrome, which I have, believes that you're going to die at age 35. It's a true thing. I've written about it in bolesblogs.com. You can go read the article. Mozart syndrome is a real thing, and people just live for the day, and they expect to die young and not have to worry about getting old. It's sort of an artist aesthetic thing, I guess. Excuse me. Neighbors. And artists are notorious for not being wise with money, as are many doctors, I'm told. Doctors have a lot of money and they invest it in really bad things. And artists, poets, they may be famous, they may be published, they may work a lot, but I guarantee you they don't have a retirement plan, most of them, and they don't have any sense of where they're going in their lives. And even, people I know who work independently, as independent plumbers or day workers or gig economy people, they want out as soon as they can get out. I have someone in my immediate family who took early retirement just because that person did not want to work in a specific area any longer. And, as this article is going to tell you, that is the wrong idea completely. If you have no money, if you have no prospects, you cannot take early retirement for Social Security at age 62. And we're going to find out why. For the typical American household, 55 to 64, the present value of this government pension represents 60% of their retirement assets. Now, if you have a high earner couple who are in the max and don't claim until 70, they're going to get a better part of $100,000. And the Wall Street Journal talked to academics, financial advisors, certified public accountants to identify the biggest Social Security mistakes people make. Too many people claim it early, putting themselves at risk of outliving their assets. Many of those who claim early also stop working to ensure, we talked about this yesterday, today, they don't exceed the Social Security earnings limit and trigger a temporary reduction in benefits. Even though continuing to work usually boosts the benefit they get when they reach full retirement age. So here we go into the light specifics of it. Number one, here we go, Mozart syndrome. Most artists and creative people I know worry about dying too young. Many clients file for Social Security earlier than necessary at the first opportunity because they fret about not living long enough to get all their money back from the government program. And I had a friend of mine, he was a part-time plumber, a super. The day he turned 62, he said, I'm filing. And even then I knew that was wrong. And I said, but why? And he was a heavy drinker in his earlier life, didn't have a lot of prospects. I thought he was in very good health, but maybe he knows more than I know. And he was not going to get a bank account. He wanted them to send him a check every month, and he would go cash it for cash. And when he went to apply, they said, we don't do that anymore. He said, I want a check. He said, we don't send checks anymore. You get a debit card, and we put your money on a debit card, and that's what you spend on your debit card. And he did it because he wanted his money. They have it all backward, according to Boston University economist, who has a firm that sells Maximize My Social Security software, which helps people determine when to start collecting their benefit. Social Security, none of us know, is a longevity insurance. Now talk to artists about longevity and they're going to look at you weird. What do you mean, longevity? I want my monies. That is, it offers protection against running out of money as we age. People don't do break-even calculations when they buy home insurance because they are protecting themselves against a catastrophic event like a fire. They shouldn't do them with Social Security either. So what that means is people say, I've been paying all my life into Social Security, and the second I can claim my benefits, I want my money. Now, if I wait until I'm 70 or 72 to claim, that's 8 years, 10 more years I have to work. I don't want to work. I want my money. But you get twice as much money if you wait. I don't care about my money that I put in. I want all the money that I put into Social Security. I want all that money back. That's their thinking. That's their philosophy. And it's wrong. 2. Second mistake most people make. You wait too long to claim. While most people should wait longer to claim their benefit, a significant minority of Americans should claim early. If you have a disabled child who is entitled to Social Security benefits through you, he or she can't receive them until you claim the benefits yourself. At that point, you probably do want to draw early. So it really depends. You got to figure this out. You got to look at all these things and figure it out. If you have a disabled child and you're 62 and you want that kid taken care of for the rest of the child's life, not your life, you got to file so the kid can get benefits. Number 3, you don't work because you're scared of the earnings limit. If you claim Social Security before January 1 of the year, you reach full retirement age. And if you earn more than almost $19,000, the government will reduce your benefit by $1 for every $2 of earnings in excess of that amount. People turn down work because of that rule. I know, that's true. I have friends who are drawing early, and they're invited to be in a movie or to teach, and it puts them over the limit. They say, I can't, my Social Security won't allow it. And so sometimes they want to do the job, and they'll say, well, pay me half as much. I can't, it's a union job, I got to pay you the minimum. Or they're teaching. They say, well, I can't teach 2 classes, I'll teach 1, but that puts me over 2, so pay me the lower amount. I can't because you're in the union. I got to pay you what I pay you. So they, instead of working it out or taking a little bit of a hit, they say, I'm not doing it. Number 4, very interesting, not filing for widow or widower's benefit. Suppose you and your spouse both work, and you are widowed young. You can file for survivor benefits at age 60, 2 years earlier than the minimum eligibility age for standard Social Security, and allow your own benefits to grow until you reach age 70. So isn't that interesting? You don't touch your benefits, you go after the benefits of your dead spouse. At that point, when you reach age 70, you would switch from the survivor's benefit you've been getting for 10 years to your benefits if your benefits are larger. Fascinating. It's all a game. And you got to know how to play the game. Number 5, getting divorced messes up your Social Security. If you're married for 10 years, less than 10 years, you usually are not entitled to a spousal benefit if you divorce. And that can be a lot of money. Even if you never worked, you are entitled to 50% of your spouse's benefit at full retirement age and the survivor benefit, which is 100% if you outlive him or her. After divorcing, there is another potential security minefield: remarriage. In most cases, you will lose spousal benefits from your earlier marriage, but will be entitled to spousal benefits from your new spouse. Big news. Look it up. Make it work. Hitting tax torpedoes, number 6. Social Security benefits may be subject to federal income tax depending on a person's total income. For some middle-income retirees, this can lead to surprisingly high marginal tax rates, as each additional dollar of income causes more Social Security income to be taxed. And that's the short version. Here's the long version. I'm putting it in chat, so Wall Street Journal, Social Security. Putting it in chat so you can go read this. Support the Wall Street Journal. Thank them for access to this lengthy and important article. And speaking of money, this popped up yesterday. I'll put this link in here too. This is a fascinating document. The Conflicts of Interest Board of the City of New York. This is the document that says if you are a city employee, what you can and cannot do when people offer you money. And the most interesting one is the first one. Question: I've heard it's okay to take a gift valued at less than $50. Is that true? The answer: yes, but no. Yes, but only technically. The gift rule provides that no public servant may accept a valuable gift, one of $50 or more, from a person or firm doing business with the city. Accepting 2 or more gifts totaling $50 or more that are given by the same person or firm within a 12-month period also violates the gift rule. However, when a gift of any value is offered to you, it may have some strings attached that are not immediately recognizable. Any gift may create an appearance of impropriety, and accepting a gift, no matter how innocently, may send the wrong signals to the gift giver, and in some cases may violate the law. Your agency may have stricter rules regarding gifts. Check with your agency's code of conduct or agency counsel to be sure. So now you know you can take $50 from anybody and get away with it. So a smart person who wants to influence you would find 100 friends who don't know each other and line them up and give you $50 each. And there's even more. Exchanging gifts is a fascinating read, just for fun. I put it in links, in the link in chat. A free meal. Does the gift rule cover a free meal or discounted meal at a restaurant? A free meal is rarely just that, and meals are considered gifts. There may be exceptions, for example, where the meal is part of a function where you represent the city, but check with the board. Now, isn't that interesting? Because there's the old saying in New York City is cops eat for free. They drink coffee for free, they get pizza for free, they get in a restaurant for free. They don't ask for it. They'll pay if you make them. But the understanding is, in New York City, you want cops in your restaurant. And the cost of doing business is you comp their meals. Unofficially, of course. Because to accept a free meal would be in violation of the Code of Ethics of the state of New York. And now we finish the day on one final money note. This is another fascinating article that has now also been made for free accessibility on the internet, from the Financial Times. They're having a series on why I don't have any money. And this is written by Courtney Love, who used to be married to Kurt Cobain. And this is her story of what she did with all of her money. My family has been a victim of every single financial crime there is. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for us, but some really horrible things happened. We've had millions taken from us. It started a few years before Kurt's death in the early 1990s and only got worse after he died. Recently, my manager and attorney discovered 5 forged wills of mine, says Courtney Love, 67 bank accounts, 102 MasterCards and Visas. There were Centurion cards with million-dollar credit lines. I found out that one was being used in 2005 by someone I had fired in 1999. Basically, they stole every cent. I was writing tweets the other day about it, but I didn't publish them. Each one sounded like a line of dialogue from a TV show. I started realizing all of this was happening around 2002, and the FBI did a big investigation into it in 2006. But the point at which I realized how effing stupid I was is an ongoing process. At its worst, we had lawyers and agents trying to colonize our estate, and they froze my assets. From April to November 2011, I spent a lot of time living in a squat in Hackney. I didn't even have the tube fare, but I know how to be poor. I know how to be poor because I came from punk. However, this is where it gets interesting. I was never taught much financial literacy as a child. I'm financially okay despite myself. When I was younger, I cared about nothing. I cared nothing about money. Oh, that's good, Dora. I'm glad you're smart about that. I do not have that intelligence myself. So Courtney Love reveals this in her article. I was never taught much financial literacy as a child. People assume I grew up in a trailer park, but I didn't. I was a child of the California counterculture. My mother inherited millions of dollars at one point, but she was so traumatized by the abuse she had suffered as a child that she spent it all really, really fast. So we went from having millions of dollars to being broke a few years later. The only guy who taught me about money was a lovely stepfather. He was a teacher who did his books meticulously and never accepted a penny off of my mother. I learned a lot from Frank about honor. I shoplifted a few times as a kid, but he caught me twice and made me return the stuff. So that's Courtney Love bearing her soul, and like her or not, this article is very good from the Financial Times. I'll put it in, put the link in the chat. And she tells a story how she names the people in the music business who are smarter than she is. One of them is Dave Grohl, who was in Nirvana with her husband. And finally she asked, I think, Lenny Kravitz, said, Lenny, we're living in the same building. You're living in the penthouse. I'm living on the first floor. How do you have so much more money than I do? And Lenny told her. I look at receipts. I hire the right people. I save. And Courtney said, what does that mean? So she's learning. She's slowly learning. And I admire her, in this one instance, for having the guts to come forward and say, look, I made a lot of mistakes in my life. And speaking of mistakes, it's never a mistake to be here in the Boles.tv live stream. Only a success. And we talked a lot about money, Social Security, Courtney Love, an Able account, a deaf chess player from India who was messed out of her money that was promised her by the government. It's all about the almighty money in the hand. And I've enjoyed my time with you together here. If you have a question for me, send it to david@boles.tv. On Twitter, find me at David Boles. Facebook is BOLES. Instagram, Boles Books. TikTok, Tickensy Thuckensy. We are now Boles TV. All one word. If you have a question for Jana Marie, disability, deafness, American Sign Language, send her an email. Jana@boles.tv. It's been a lovely stream. I thank you so much for being here. And I will see you on the morrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thank you and take care.